Welcome to the Cornerstone Gundog Academy podcast. I'm so excited that you're here. And really, I'm just excited about the topic that I'm going to be covering with you today, right? Maybe you're a person in a position, you've got this dog, you think it's ready to hunt, but you want to make sure that it's ready because you don't want to make a mistake and mess up your dog. If that's you, then this podcast is for you. Or if you know someone, please send this podcast to them. Maybe you've got a friend that's got a dog that's getting close to being ready. You may want to send this podcast to them because it could help them avoid making a mistake, or it could give them the courage to go ahead and step out there and begin hunting with their dog. So before we begin any further, I do want to say this podcast is proudly brought to you by Cornerstone Gundog Academy and Retriever Training Supply. Cornerstone Gundog Academy provides online courses to teach you how to train your retriever, even if you've never done it before. And Retriever Training Supply offers the gear that you need to build unforgettable moments with your retriever. So that said, let's dive in. How do you know if your dog is ready to hunt? Or is there an age, a certain age? Does my dog need to be this old for it to be ready to hunt? And I'll just go ahead and give you the age right off the top. But there's there's prerequisites to this age. So it's not just the age. It's more than the age. But typically, if you follow these prerequisites, the starting point of is your dog ready to hunt is it's going to be 10 months old. So if your dog's younger than this, you might as well roll it out. Now, you're going to probably say, I've heard my buddy did this, and you're going to see posts where people have hunted a 6-month-old dog, a 5-month-old dog, 7-month-old dog. And I'm just going to say, honestly, that's absolutely ludicrous and insane. You should not be doing that. If you value your dog and you want it to turn out, don't risk it. That doesn't mean that you can't go do it and it will work. But we're not saying, will this work? We want to be confident that if we're hunting our dog, it's the right time so that we're not ruining our dog, because these dogs are too precious. There's too much potential to consider ruining. That's why I'm saying it's ludicrous. So if that's you and you've done it, hey, no shame on you. Just make good decisions moving forward, right? It's just not a good decision to hunt your dog too early. Now let's get back to what really matters. For you that have got these 10-month-old plus dogs, now you're asking, okay, great. Can I go hunt my dog now? The answer is, I don't know. Maybe. Let's explore this together. Can you go hunt your dog? Well, those prerequisites that I just talked about are going to be the most important aspect here. If your dog meets these requirements, then yes, you can go hunt your dog. If your dog doesn't meet these requirements, then you need to keep working your dog so that when you do go hunt, it works out well and you actually make forward momentum and really you help build your dog versus potentially risk dismantling or let me just say this, crippling your dog's potential. We don't want to cripple our dog's potential. So what are these prerequisites? And then I'll get to the 10-month age here in just a minute if we'll follow back up on that. Why is 10 months? Why is that kind of the threshold? We'll talk about that in a second. But the prerequisites, it starts with obedience. And we're going to have to actually go even further back than just obedience, because I know there's people listening to this like, yeah, my dog's got obedience. But the question I have for you is, does your dog have obedience to the level that we're talking about here? So I just want to draw a distinction here. I'm not just talking about can these dogs do these skills. I'm talking about can the dogs execute proficiently and effectively no matter the environment. That's the level we train to at Cornerstone. That's the standard I'm coming at for you, coming at from this angle. So the reason I'm saying it this way is that is the angle I'm coming at. It's about the standard. We have a higher standard here at Cornerstone. We expect more from our dogs than just, does my dog do obedience? So let's go way back to learning theory here, and let's talk about the 4 stages of learning. And I'm actually going to link up a couple of blogs, by the way. If you're listening in the show notes, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go and actually read these blogs. Just look below, click them. I'm going to link to the blog on the topic I'm telling you right now, which is the 4 stages of learning, how your dog learns. And I'm also going to link to how old my dog should be as their minimum age if you want to read more on this. But again, we're about to go in depth on this podcast right now. So 4 stages of learning. There are 4 stages of learning that your dog's got to go through to be successful at every skill, to be truly proficient. That doesn't mean you can't go train your dog in the yard and great, you've got a dog that understands things. We're talking about if you want your dog to truly be ready for any situation, anywhere, and you want it to actually work out well, these are the 4 stages that your dog has to go through. It starts with acquisition, and we all get this one. Everybody gets this one right, okay? The dog acquires a skill. On average, it takes about 75 successful reps for your dog to have acquired a skill. This can be on place, this can be on sit, this can be on retrieving, anything on average. I know that sounds like overkill, right? After 75 reps, you would think the dog has it. Well, it does. It has acquired the skill, but it hasn't moved to the next stage of learning, which is becoming fluent. Now, fluency is a whole nother level. Another word here we could use is proficiency. Fluency is the second stage of learning, and that's where the dog becomes 100% fluent at the skill. On average, you're looking at 250 successful completed reps. And let me just highlight that there, successful completed reps. I don't mean 75 reps. You've gone out in the yard, you've done 75 retrieves, or you've gone out and you've done 75 place reps. I mean successful reps. So if you said place and your dog didn't get on place, that's a no-go. That rep doesn't count. We got to have 75 successful reps. Same thing for the 250 fluent reps. So if you've got 250 fluent reps, your dog is now fluent. Now, this is the place where I would say a lot of people get to, and this is where they think, okay, my dog is ready. We're ready now. We're 100% ready to go. But then you find yourself going out there and then it doesn't work out. And let me just tell you this story real quick, okay? We had a guy that bought a dog from us. This has been years ago. I was actually training this dog. This dog was mine at the time. I was training it, and this was a wonderful, fantastic dog. Absolutely an amazing dog. One of the best I've trained. Really love this dog. And we were just training it, and then we found this right moment with the right guy. It just made sense to offer this dog to this gentleman. And so we decided to sell the dog. And so we continued to train. I think this dog had about 4 or 5 months of training on it, give or take. And the dog was doing well, but it needed more training, right? That's just the way it goes. You got to have a lot of training to get to our, at least our standard. And so we send the dog to the guy. The dog flies, lands. The guy picks the dog up from the airport that evening and then drives like late overnight and then wakes up at 4 a.m. and then throws the dog in a Polaris and they're going duck hunting. The dog had never seen a cow before, and it actually let the dog run beside the Polaris. So it gets freaked out about the cow. Then it gets in the duck blind. And this is what happens. Beautiful. It comes in perfect. Ducks just landing in those decoys just like they should. Boom, 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 boom. Ducks fall. The dog, he sends the dog, swims out, touches the duck with its nose, turns around, and then comes back. And of course, we're getting a call. And we're like, hey, how's it going? Hey, I thought you said this dog was trained and all this and that. Whoa, what's going on? We're duck hunting this dog right now, and it just didn't pick up the duck. I'm like, why are you duck hunting this dog right now? You just got the dog less than 12 hours ago. Like, why are we duck hunting the dog? And so, long story short, that dog was fluent with us. And this was communicated beforehand, like, hey, you're going to need to continue training this dog. Let the dog get comfortable with you for a couple of weeks and then go out. It only had 4 or 5 months of training. That's not a lot of training to get to the level that we're talking about here. So needless to say, we're like, hey, look, just try these couple of things. Get a duck, go out there, get it with a boat, come back, and then throw a couple of ducks out, and then encourage the dog to go get it. And by the end of the day, the dog was actually picking up the ducks and bringing them back. But that's just an example of so many people find themselves in this situation. You have these expectations that your dog's going to perform, right? Okay, this dog's trained. Maybe you're doing the training yourself. I expect my dog to perform. Like, it does great in the yard. It's done great at the football field and all this. We've done a lot of training. So you go out and yeah, they should do it. But then you're surprised when the dog doesn't do what it's been taught to do. But you shouldn't be surprised, right? Because there's 4 stages of learning. We've only covered 2 up until this point. What's the next stage? It's called generalization. Generalization becomes where you then take and you teach the same skill in different environments with different variables. And it can be the same environment with different variables, or it can be different environments and different variables. But what does that mean? Let me put the cookies on the bottom shelf. What you're trying to do is build the dog's memory bank of experience up enough that it has enough experience to draw on when the real world comes and it's in a new environment, that it realizes and recognizes I'm still supposed to perform to the same level of proficiency. So we as humans are able to generalize a lot better than dogs. Dogs are more distinct in the way they learn. What does that mean? They're more focused on the little details. So if you're not in your backyard under the same environment and you go to a new place and you start to train your dog, odds are your dog's not going to perform to the same level unless you have preemptively planned this and you have gone and you've retaught your dog through multiple scenarios and multiple environments. Then your dog will become generalized. Now, what is left? What is the 4th stage? After that, it's just maintenance. Just maintain that, meaning you uphold the standard, the level that you've trained your dog to. You keep doing that throughout, and you just make sure you revisit it. And there's going to be times where your dog's going to try to shrink back on a lesser level of training. And at that point, the maintenance mode is you correct it, and then you make sure your dog keeps performing at that level. So Now that we've gone back to learning theory and the 4 stages of learning, I think I'm going to give you a better picture of what I'm about to talk about and why that 10-month-old threshold is so important. So you've got this dog, you've been training it, and it's doing good. It's consistent at stuff. Now that you understand this, think about your dog. Have you generalized your dog on things? Is your dog even fluent on the skills that we're about to talk about? Start thinking through those types of scenarios. So, as far as what are the skills needed to hunt, let's just make it super simple. For your dog to hunt, your dog needs to sit steady. It needs to go when told to go. It needs to pick up the bird. It needs to hold it, bring it back, and then deliver to hand, and then get ready for the next retrieve. On a basic level, that's what your dog needs to be able to do to hunt. It also needs to be comfortable with ATVs, chainsaws, anything that you might experience on a hunt. It needs to be comfortable with that. It also needs to be extremely comfortable with gunfire, not just comfortable with it, but it needs to be confident that when it hears gunfire, that that's a good thing. It also, again, needs to be comfortable with gunfire, that not every time you hear gunfire is a bird going to fall or is a retrieve going to be available. And we train all of this through the Cornerstone Gundog Academy online courses. But this is like what your dog needs to be able to do if you want it to be successful. Otherwise, if you go out on a duck hunt and you've at this point taught your dog that every time it hears gunfire, it goes and retrieves, what's going to happen? You're going to shoot, you're going to miss a bird, and your dog's going to eventually just break and go out there. And you're about, man, my dog's so steady. Why is it breaking? Because you didn't teach it for this scenario. And this is a very real scenario that happens on a hunt. And this is just one scenario that I just talked about. There's so many scenarios. So let's go back to the beginning, the obedience. So what does obedience consist of? It consists of sitting steady, placing on the dog stand, on their mow marsh. It includes just standing by your side. It includes returning to you when called. It needs to come back to you when called. Your dog needs to be able to walk beside you and heel. It needs to be able to sit when you tell it to sit. And that's kind of the core foundation for obedience. Next, your dog needs to, again, be comfortable with dog stands and all the likes. Then it needs to be comfortable with actually fetching and holding. So this is where you have gone through a formal process of teaching your dog how to retrieve, not just the natural desire, which is there. We now want to formalize that and make sure our dog is very comfortable with it and understands the concepts even under pressure. So that's a process we at Cornerstone call fetch, hold, and release. And instead of force fetch, we do a process called positive reinforcement, and we call it fetch, hold, and release. It's a great step-by-step process that really brings out the dog's drive, its energy, and excitement. And on the end of it, instead of having its tail tucked between its legs, the dog's tail's wagging, it's all happy, and it loves it. Now you've got a dog that retrieves and delivers to hand, and it loves what it does. From there, now you've got lots of gun dog skills you need. You need gunfire introduction. Your dog needs to be able to run in a long, straight line. Your dog needs to be able to handle multiple marks, not just a single mark. Your dog needs to be able to handle a couple or so marks going out and about, because that's what it's going to experience on a hunt. Your dog then needs to be comfortable with birds, holding birds. Your dog needs to be comfortable with decoys, right? You don't want this to be the first time your dog's ever seen a decoy. If you think about the story I told you, that dog, it was its first time not to see decoys, but it was its first time to see a cow. So if you've got different environmental factors where you hunt, you need to make sure your dog's exposed to those types of things as well. Then finally, the dog needs to be exposed to other people and comfortable working in and around other people, because a lot of people train by themselves, right? And at Cornerstone, we have local chapters where members gather together and they train together. So fortunately for Cornerstone members, they do have an opportunity to train together. But the vast majority of people are training by themselves. So that's something to consider as well. If you hunt with 5 other guys or girls, you need to make sure that your dog has not just trained just with you. You need to train your dog with other people as well. And after all of that, you need to have put it all together in a real world scenario where the dog has gone and prepared to hunt. I'll give you another story real quick. We just had our training day here for the Birmingham chapter at Cornerstone Gundog Academy recently, and we did a mock hunting scenario where we did a mock style goose hunt with layout blinds. And it was really cool to see, but I'm really glad we did it, especially as everyone was getting ready to hunt. I know Mr. Kevin Wright is out there actually hunting right now as I'm recording this podcast. I wish I was out there hunting too, but hey, we got to make sure everybody's prepared for their dogs. We'll get out there soon. But it was really awesome to see. He was like, I'm so glad we're doing this because I'm going out hunting next weekend and I'm excited about it. But there were some things we had to work through, especially if you're hunting with another dog or just other people, like scenarios on when to send your dog, when not to send your dog, a lot of the chaos. And that's what we simulated. We simulated the chaos of the hunt, and that creates confusion and it creates really challenges. So the reason we want to train our dogs through the 4 stages of learning on all of these things is when the chaos is on, If you're only in an acquisition stage or even just a fluency stage of learning, what happens is that chaos that surrounds creates that confusion, and the dog forgets what it's supposed to do, or maybe even you forget how to communicate to your dog. I know me personally, if you've watched any of the Cornerstone Gundog TV series where we're hunting, I personally get pretty excited when the ducks are coming in. And it definitely impacts my ability to communicate with my dog. I'm not gonna lie. I just get so fired up. I get so zeroed in when I'm calling those ducks and I'm looking at them. Honestly, I just trust my dog to sit there and I just don't worry about it. I just get so focused. But after the fact, if it's chaotic and there's multiple birds down, you're having to balance as a dog guy, you're having to balance, or a dog girl, you're having to balance between communicating with your dog and communicating with the other hunters, right? We have to remain safe. We've got to communicate because if you shoot your lane, maybe you've got someone on the other end that is shooting their lane and you didn't pay attention to where those birds fell. So, as the dog person in the blind, you now have to have your dog sit steady. Now you have to communicate with the other people in the blind. Say, hey, where did this bird land? Where did this bird land? So you got to start gaining situational awareness on what is going on. And while all that's happening, if your dog is not prepared for that, what's going to happen is you're going to look over and like, where'd my dog go? Your dog's going to go out there and start becoming self-employed. It's going to start doing its own job, right? And we want to make sure that we remain one unit, one team together for the best results. So those are the skills we need. That's basically the journey of training a dog to at least being able to hunt and pick up ducks and bring them back, or pick up geese and bring them back. Let's talk about that 10-month age, right? Real quick. Okay. So if you start your dog at 8 weeks old, like we recommend in Cornerstone, the best time to start Cornerstone is the minute you bring your puppy home, right? Because it's really, you should be starting it before you bring your puppy home, because we prepare you before you bring your puppy home. We tell you what you need to know. We tell you what you need to know the minute your puppy's home. These are the things you need to start doing for the first couple of weeks. And it's extremely important stuff. I know as we think of puppies, we don't think it's actually that big a deal at the time because, oh, great, we got this puppy in here and all that. Great. Actually, some of the most impactful moments of your puppy's life happens the day you bring it home. And if you do it right, everything starts to get easier. If you start making some simple mistakes, and common mistakes, I might add, that I see a lot of people make, then everything gets harder because you didn't start right. It's really important to start right. So, really important to start that dog right at that moment in time. You're getting your dog about 8 weeks old. Then you want to carry that through. But if you start your dog at 8 weeks old and you go through the process of training your dog to become generalized or fluent at what needs to be fluent and generalized at what needs to be generalized, you're looking at about the timeline where your dog is going to end up being about 10 months old if you start at 8 weeks old. Now, that doesn't mean you can't start a dog at 6 weeks old and train it for 4 or 5 months. Excuse me. That doesn't mean you can't start a dog at 6 months old like they do when you're typically sending it to the trainer, go through a 4 or 5 month program and have a dog that performs skills, right? That's what we were doing with the dog that I told you about earlier in this podcast. And the story on that dog is I was training it. And I went through about a 4 or 5 month program with the caveat of saying, hey, look, this dog is trained, but you need to carry on the training so that your dog knows how to do it in the real world, right? So if you want to have a dog that is truly fully prepared, it's going to be about 10 months old if you start at 8 weeks old. If you start at 6 months old, I'm going to say, hey, if you start at 6 months old, I'm going to say, hey, that dog is probably not ready to go hunting yet, because your dog's only had 4 months of training. That's not enough time to get all the reps in that it needs to be successful on every single skill that it needs to be successful at. Now, you probably could rely on those genetics. Your dog probably has enough natural talent between 4 or 5 months of training for you to go out there. And yes, by the end of the weekend, your dog's probably going to be picking up a duck, but not without picking up some bad habits along the way too. This has more to do with the overall future of the dog than is my dog ready to hunt today. This has everything to do, is what I'm going to do today, the hunting that I'm going to do today, is it going to set up and benefit the hunting that I'm going to do tomorrow and in the future? And so that's, again, the perspective I'm coming at here, guys, is I'm thinking about the holistic approach. And personally, that's what I'm going to do with my dogs. And I would encourage you to do this with your dog as well. Or if you're just gung ho and you just want to go do it, go try it and see for yourself and see what happens. That doesn't mean that your dog's not going to go pick up a duck, but is your dog going to be ready that when you're done hunting this weekend or today, if you're going out today or tomorrow, when you're done hunting, did your dog have the ability for it to get better? Or Did the things that you do in the hunting field, did it actually set your training back? And now you have problems that you have to work through. We all love problems, right? Not really. We don't want to have problems. So, what I'm teaching you here, what I'm encouraging you with here in this podcast will help you eliminate creating problems that so many people fall into. Again, if I just took screenshots of messages or something and shared with you on some of the challenges I've seen people face, you'd be blown away. Maybe not. It's out there on social media land. And typically everybody's answer is, hey, let's force fetch that dog and that'll fix everything, right? No, it will not, because you can't violate the principles of how your dog learns. So what I'm teaching you here in this video is principles, the 4 stages of learning. Here's the skills you need to cover. Make sure you cover on all the 4 stages of learning. And if you do that, boom, you're good to go. So that's how you know if your dog's ready to hunt. Has your dog covered the skills that we talked about here? And in general. And again, go to this blog post. It's linked below. If you want to read it out, it's written right there. Here's the skills your dog needs to know to be able to go hunting. And it's right there written out so that you can refresh it, right? Because right now I'm kind of covering a lot of information in a short period of time because I want to help you the best I can and prepare you and provide as much value as I can as you're listening to this. But again, it's those skills that need to be covered in the 4 stages of learning. And if you do all that, you got a dog that you can confidently go hunting with. And the reason I say, again, 10 months old is that's about how long it takes. We've proven it. We've got our huntable retriever course, which is weeks 1 through 36. You're going to have a dog about 10 months old at the end of it. And dogs that complete that course are able and ready to hunt. That doesn't mean you're going to be doing big blind retrieves and all that, but you can at least take your dog hunting and be confident that it's going to remain steady. It's not going to start developing whining problems. And my goodness, or is that a problem? We don't want to develop that. You're going to have a dog that's going to go straight out, straight back. It's not going to go pick up a decoy. It's not going to wander around in the decoys trying to find the bird. It's going to have a good marking eye. It's going to see where the bird falls, go pick it up, bring it back, and it's going to deliver it to hand professionally right into your hand. Beautiful. It's going to lift that head up so beautifully, put it right in your hand, and then it's going to get ready for the next retrieve. And when your buddy looks over with his mouth wide open, like, how on earth did you get your dog to do that? You're going to be like, because I followed these principles and I implemented the right training. And it was pretty easy, actually. I just had to just train consistently, and that's it. That's how you know if your dog's ready to hunt. Doesn't meet those prerequisites, doesn't meet those requirements. I hope this is helpful for you. Let me just say this. Well, I'll do a follow-up episode. What if I've messed up here? You may be listening to this thinking, this is all great, but honestly, I'm starting to feel really bad because I just absolutely screwed up. I hunted my dog too early. I had all these problems. I'll do a follow-up episode for you on what to do if I've made these mistakes and how to basically work from here. Again, we have a saying at Cornerstone. It's called build from here. So wherever you're at, if you've made mistakes, don't have shame. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel that you've let your dog down. What matters is your next best step. Make good decisions, take the next best step, and you're going to be on your way to success. Okay. So if you made some mistakes, look, I get it. We've all been there. I've made mistakes too. Don't be too hard on yourself. Look at that dog. Start getting a game plan together on how we're going to make that dog better. And of course, if you're not following Cornerstone, we would love to help you with that. We have step-by-step online courses that will help you get your dog on the right track. Or maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking about your buddy whose dog is breaking, whining, doing all these problems. And it's just like, man, I wish my buddy would get that dog straight, right? If you're thinking about a buddy like that, go ahead and send this podcast to them now. Share it with them. Shoot them a text like, look, I've got something, listen to it. I think it could help you. And just leave it at that. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope it's helpful for you. I know I kind of took a strong approach on it, but I believe in it. Okay. And I've seen it time and time again. I've also seen a lot of what happens if this protocol is not followed. And I can promise you, you don't want to be in that situation. So that's why I'm so passionate about that. That's why I'm so strong about this topic. And again, I'm just passionate to help you. We want to help people have a better experience with a retriever. And that's one of the reasons we do this podcast. That's why we do the step-by-step online course. So I hope you've enjoyed, again, this Cornerstone Gundog Academy podcast. Please like and subscribe. Please comment, share. If you disagree with me, comment. Let me know. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you agree, please share. Maybe you've got a story where this happened to you and you would love to share the story. Please comment on YouTube or like and subscribe and share. That would mean the world to us. And so that's it for this episode. Again, we'll do a follow-up episode where we go over what do I do if I've messed up? What do I do if I made some mistakes with my dog? I'll help you cover that on the next episode. We'll see you next time. Build from here.